Welcome back to Glory and Grit, where faith meets real life. I'm Stephanie, and I'm so grateful that you're here because today's conversation is with W. Bruce Cameron, and we're talking about surrender, especially when surrender feels more like failure than faith. Bruce walks us through a season where so much of what he had built was shaken all at the same time: his marriage, his work, his role as a provider, his sense of control. After 25 years of marriage, his wife wanted a different life. Then, when he was already carrying the weight of that loss, he also lost his job. And for someone who had always been a doer, a problem solver, and there's always another way kind of person, this season brought him to a place where he couldn't fix anything any longer or force or figure his way out through it, right? But in that place, God began teaching Bruce that surrender was not failure. It was not quitting. It was learning to release what he couldn't carry and then trust God with what he couldn't control. So, if you are tired of trying to hold it all together, and if surrender has felt more like failure for you, I pray that this conversation reminds you that God can still meet you in the middle of whatever's not fixed yet. Here's my conversation with W. Bruce Cameron. Bruce, we'd like to welcome you to Glory and Grit. We're very glad to have you here with us today.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here.
Thank you. When we talked during our pre-interview, one phrase that kept standing out was surrender feels like failure. Your story walks through a season where you have already built a lot: your marriage, your work, your sense of identity, and that was all shaken at the same time. But but what I heard in your testimony wasn't just your loss. I also heard God teaching you how to release what you couldn't fix and to trust in him when nothing was resolved, and to discover that surrender was not the end of your story. So I kind of want to start there today. For someone who hasn't heard your story before, can you take us back to that season when your life stopped going according to your plans?
Yeah, I noticed my body, Stephanie, when you said, "Can you take us back?" I found myself involuntarily taking a deep breath because it was a big moment in my life. It was all life altering. It, it so I was married 25 years, two beautiful kids, two beautiful dogs, two beautiful homes. And without um, blame or pretext or anything else, that marriage came to an end. My wife decided that she wanted a different life, and it was a life without us. The the blow, and I know that your listeners know that they've felt it, whether they've gone through something like that themselves or something similar. The punch in the chest of that, where I'm a doer, or in the past I've been a doer, so I could work my way out of it. I was that keep going guy and find solutions. One of my favorite quotes to my kids is, "There's always another way." And at that point, there was no other way. I didn't see what I could do differently, what I could say differently, what I could fix. I didn't, I was at a loss. The resilience was gone. The grit was over. Um, And so I was driving home from work one day, and as I was going through this, and the song "Jesus Take the Wheel" came on, and I know how cheesy that sounds, but I bet Carrie Underwood has gotten a lot of comments similar to
I
this
bet.
because it spoke exactly to where I was.
Mhm.
And I was able to pull off the road into a little roadside park, and I didn't cry. I sobbed. I because I didn't I was afraid. And I was at a loss because I'd always been able to figure a way out, around, up, down, through, and I just didn't have another. I just didn't see another way.
Mhm.
And Jesus Take the Wheel was the most appropriate message that I could have heard from God at that time. And I felt the ability to breathe for the first time
Mm.
in a few months. Yeah, you don't know that you're not breathing. I mean,
Yeah.
you are because you're alive, but I didn't know that I was able to breathe, and there's this time when you finally take a breath, when your shoulders relax and, your blood pressure goes down, and you are finally able to center and de-traumatize, if that's even a word, your nervous system a little bit
Mm.
and become stable. And I this isn't a miracle story in a sense because nothing changed. I
Mm.
mean, the marriage was still coming to an end. Um, I had 2 mortgages, car payments, kids to get into middle school and high school and help them through the trauma, dogs to look after and a job to go to and bills to pay. And on top of that, within the next week or so, I don't quite remember when, I lost my job because, my employer had said, "Bruce, you're wearing your heart on your sleeve, and you're affecting the attitudes and personalities of other people." So, it actually got worse before it got better.
Mm.
But that one breath, Stephanie, it gave me hope, I think. I think it gave me hope
Mm.
that there was it it wasn't failure. I learned through the process, we're taught that surrender is bad, that it's failure, that it's giving up, that it's, you're not enough. You're a bad husband, you're a bad dad, whatever those things that those voices in our heads
Mhm.
tell us. And I learned through the process that it's not that actually, because I was able to take a breath and I was able to somehow just get that light to be able to come in that crack. I was able to garner some hope, and I was able to turn it over to God. Not all at once.
Mm.
That's a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
But I believe it is the thing to do. It's like there's this paradox. Surrender is failure, but surrender is really success. It's how we bandy that phrase, uh, you know, um, what is it? Let go and let God.
Yes.
And you see it as a bumper sticker,
I say it often.
but I know, but it is so true.
Yeah.
He is so much bigger than we are, and he has such a bigger plan. And if we can let it go, I once had a friend. She's Catholic, and she was kind enough to send me a novella. It's a 9-day novella. I guess that's what novella means on surrender. And one of them makes me laugh because it's this day, and it says, it's God talking to you, and he says, or Jesus, whichever, and he says, "Look, I know you want to give it to me, but you're like little kids who want to take it back. Say you because you say, "Okay, would you fix this for me? But I want you to fix it this way."
Right.
As if we know the best way. And
Right.
I'm laughing because that's what I'm guilty of,
Right. We all
is
are.
right, right. Like, sure, do it, but I'm not sure you understand, God, exactly, about this and how you should do this.
You don't know about this part, so let me tell you about this particular part.
Let me just set you straight. Let me just give you the whole story. And I think if you do this, this is going to work out
Much
much
better,
better.
much better.
So I tend to believe he has a tremendous sense of humor.
Oh, he has to. He has to.
like, like, okay, sure, sure. So it's this idea that it's a practice, it's a muscle. That's what I've learned. It's a muscle that
Mhm.
you have to develop. I do it daily, several times a day, and just say, okay, thy will be done.
Mhm.
That's you take care of it, and I'll give it to you. And
Awesome.
what I've found in my journey with that is that that's where trust comes from.
Mm.
And with trust comes faith, um, because that's the only way to do surrender. Because if you're giving it up, right, you're saying, okay, I'm going to trust that you're not going to screw this up, God,
I'm gonna trust that you can do
any
it better
more
than I can.
any more than I already have. and but with that trust, that's when things start to open up. And
Mm.
for me, it wasn't things that open up that you say, "Oh, eureka, here we go." It was a confidence, um, in your despair, in
Mhm.
your tragedy. I had been afraid to call the bank, to call the credit card companies, to call the mortgage companies
Right.
and say, "I need help." And somewhere in there, I give credit to God to giving me that little bit of courage,
Mhm.
to that 20 seconds of courage to make the call.
Mhm.
You know how often in the movies, and I know I did it, so I know other people have done this too, is when the bill comes in that you don't have the money to pay, for some strange reason, we don't even open it. And it goes in the pile and it goes over here like I don't know, like it's magically going to go away. It's it's the dumbest thing in the world, right? But I know I did it, so I know
Yeah,
other
yeah, I
people
did
do
it
it as
too.
well, and I see it in the movies, right? So it's eh, but what he gave me was the trust to make the call,
Mhm.
and they helped me. They reduced interest rates, or they eliminated interest rates, or they reduced payments, or they skipped payments, or they helped me, and with that help came another little boost of confidence, and these were practical things that I
Mhm.
did and that I believe he did through me to help me get myself back on my feet, and it may sound small to your listeners, but it was huge for
Mhm.
me. And it was only in looking back all the things that happened through that journey. For instance, because I'd lost my job, I was now able to take what I was really good at and passionate about, which is customer service and hospitality, and helping develop positive cultures within organizations. And I was able to start my own company,
Mm.
Frontline Marketing, which I ended up having for 15 years. And I got my first clients, and they were throughout that 15 years, they were referrals. So it brought in income. And because it was my own company, I was able to travel to my parents who were elderly and help them transition them into that next stage
Mm.
of their life and be with them when they finally passed. The relationship that I have with my son and daughter is I call it the best gig I've ever had. And before that, it was good. I was a
Right.
good dad. I think I
Right.
was a good dad. I'm a great dad now because of them. And it's not bragging, it's because I was concerned for them, and in our lives together, we ended up getting tattoos, the
Mm,
same tattoo on the same day. Different places, but,
right.
and it was my daughter that came up with that, that we were in this together. We became a stronger family unit.
Mhm.
And this is nothing about my wife. It's what happened for us. And to this day, we talk, weekly, at least, if not more often. And I give that credit to him because he opened up things that I hadn't even thought about. Because up until that point, my job was to be a provider. That's
Mhm.
what I did. And I was responsible for that. And that didn't change. I was still obviously a provider, but but he gave me a new perspective.
Mhm.
He just allowed me to look at the reality that I was in from a slightly different angle. And by being able to do that, I was able to allow other things into my life. I was able to help my son and my daughter as we all authentically moved through this time in our life to find a different space,
Right.
a different way of living, and ultimately a forgiveness for ourselves and for my wife and their mom.
Right.
So it became this. When you look back and connect the dots, that's what he was able to do, and I wouldn't have been able to do that without him.
Right. Right. I love the story about the tattoos, you and your kids getting the same tattoos. That is such a, bonding thing when people do that together. When you look back now, what did God rebuild that you couldn't have planned for yourself?
The first thing that comes to my mind is my relationship with him.
Mhm.
I was that guy that grew up in the church. I went to Sunday school. I got the attendance pins
Mhm.
and, um, was in, the church group and all church camp and all those things.
Right.
But it was at a level that wouldn't have changed, I don't think. It would have continued throughout my life like that, taking my kids to having them go to Sunday school, which we did. But it wouldn't have had the depth that it has now. It took me on a whole different journey to find out, okay, who is this really? And what is my purpose here? And not I don't want to say it as going to church and being involved as a nice to do,
Mhm.
but it's the best way I can describe, I think, how I was moving through it because, you know, I'm a privileged white guy that was making, not that I didn't have challenges, but I was having a normal
Mhm.
white guy's life.
Mhm.
And this took it deeper. This took it to, okay, what is this one life that we're given that we know of? What is it really about? What is it? Why are we really here? Um, and I believe now that it is to become as close to him in this mortal body as we possibly can.
Mhm.
How much of that can I experience in this reality, however we got here?
Right.
And that I don't know that I would have done without that challenge.
Mm. When if we have some say one of our listeners is feeling that surrender feels like a failure, that it means they failed. In their mind, they're thinking that. What could you say to them to help encourage them to look at it differently? That surrender is not failure.
maybe I maybe this story. If you can imagine yourself in a boat and you're rowing upstream, so against the current, and you've got to be careful because the current's gonna move you
Mhm.
one way or the other, so you're very focused on your rowing, and you're fighting the current and you're moving upstream. I And because you're focused on that, you're not looking around. You're completely focused on trying to move upstream. But all of a sudden, you lift for whatever reason, you lift your oars out of the water, and the bow of the boat turns, and you begin going with the current. And so there's fast parts and there's slow parts and there's eddies, but all of a sudden, what you begin to see is, "Oh, wait a minute, there's other tributaries that you could take, or there's other there's trees, there's the sunshine, there's the warmth of the sun, there's the breeze, there's all of these things that are surrounding you." And what it does, I think, when you surrender is it opens up your imagination,
Mhm.
because when you're only focused on one thing and the goal is to get up the river, then the only thing you see is you have blinders on. The only thing you see is rowing. And as hard as that becomes, you say, I have to keep rowing. And so even with blisters on your hands and tired, because you know if you stop, that you're not going to reach the goal that you've set for yourself.
Exactly.
What surrender does is it's not failure, it's not giving up. In fact, as we started our conversation together, it's exactly the opposite. It instead opens up this whole vista. It doesn't give up the goal that you're trying to get. I am still a provider. That's who I am,
Mhm.
and I've become a better provider. But what it did was open my imagination. It's because there's a lot of different ways to reach your goal, and surrender allows you to breathe. It allows you to think, "Oh, there's always another way." But now I can begin to see what those other ways might be.
Mhm.
Maybe it's, taking the boat to the shore and walking up, or maybe it's, yeah, we're not going to go into that, but
Yes.
it's this idea that traveling with the current will take you to your goal. Um, and, and in a much more joyful, creative, exciting, loving, um, thought process of possibility. But if you don't surrender, then you don't give yourself the opportunity to see another way.
Right.
That's Give yourself grace or accept grace, whatever is the right way to say that, I don't know. But give yourself the grace of compassion. It's not that you're not doing your best. It's in fact finding a different level of what your best is. Viktor Frankl, the guy that wrote Man's Search to Meaning when he was in the Holocaust camp, that's what he did.
Mhm.
He he said, "Okay, everybody is being tortured, starved, punished, killed. That's the reality."
Mhm.
And it is, and it was. But somehow he was able to take a look at that and say, I don't have to go this way. I have the opportunity to surrender and find a different way. And in his book, Man's Search to Meaning, he says, and that made all the difference. Because I was able to surrender, I was able to see good
Right.
in the guards. I was able to see possibility and kindness in the fellow prisoners.
Mhm.
Um, I was able to see kindness as people shared what little they had. And it was in that moment of surrendering and being open to that rather than the tragedy of what looked like was going to be ultimate outcome of this thing, he was able to see a different possibility,
Mm.
and that gave him hope. And with hope, there's another way. There's
Right.
and so, those are two examples of we created the definition around surrender.
Mm.
God didn't do that. We made up the word surrender, and we're the ones that said surrender's bad. Surrender's failure. We
Mm.
gave ourselves that definition. We just need to twist the way we think of the word. Surrender is life-giving. Surrender is allowing life, God, to show up and show us all the wonderful opportunities that we have. That's what we're surrendering to. We're surrendering to life. We're surrendering to the gift, the maker that, is so far beyond this little time that we've got.
Mm.
So although it takes practice, although it'll take some of us, me, longer than other people to achieve it,
Mm.
surrender is actually what we're supposed to be doing. We just monkeyed with it.
Right, right. I remember us talking about that word in the pre-interview and how I've definitely got to do an episode about that about that word surrender. And
Yeah.
now I want to know, what does just wait mean for you right now?
Oh man, it has been such fun. It has been such fun.
We talked about that during
I
the pre-interview.
We did, and it's this whole idea that I had a dream, and I believe it's God. Couldn't tell you what he looks like or anything, but
Mhm.
he's in my face in the dream, and he's saying, "Just wait." And I'm laughing now. So I'm laughing in the dream because he's not admonishing me, although he's saying, "Will you just wait?"
Right, right.
And so I wake up laughing, and I don't know what the thing means. And, I had the and I have a men's support group, and I told them the story, and one of the guys made me a hat that,
There it
says,
is.
"Just wait." It says, "Just wait" on it. And so I was then I I feed these, Catholic missionary kids that that spend a year of their life in college
Mhm,
helping, the homeless, administering to the homeless, and they depend on people to
mhm.
help feed them and house them. So I was overfeeding them, and I said, "Okay, let me tell you this story about just wait." And so I tell them the story, and I say, "So what do you think it means?" So I love the first guy. He raises his hand and he says, "Well, it means just wait." And so I'm laughing because I'm the overthinker, right? And here's this guy is saying, "Can't get much clearer than
That
that. Just wait." So had fun with that. Another girl said, "Oh, well, here's what I think it means. I think it means just wait. You're not going to believe what I've got for you. And heaven is gonna be such a wonderful place for you to be,
Right,
and I can't wait. So just wait until you see this." So she took that bent.
right.
And then there was another guy that said, "Just wait to me means that if you will just wait on me, I'm going to give you the answers that you've been
Mm,
looking for, the opportunities that you've been seeking, the people, the love
mhm.
that you've been wanting to have, the abundance that you've prayed for. But you've got to just wait, and you've got to trust the process." So isn't that fun?
That is, I am forever
So
going to remember that phrase, "Just wait." Oh,
if we've
thank you
got
for
time, I
sharing
got
that.
an actual example of
I
just
do
wait
have
coming
time.
into being. All right. So just wait. And it's 2 days before Memorial Day weekend, so it's pretty close. And I have this opportunity. Guy calls me and he says, "I've got some land, and do you want to come see it?" I just wait, and I pray about it, and I talked to a couple of people that called in, and I said, "What do you think this means?" And so I got them to their input. So I flew to see this land, um, and I bought it. So I want to build a community, and I wanted to build a tiny home community. So I was able to buy this land. I don't know where the money's coming from, by the way, but so but I have enough for the down payments. And I said, but the other, so you have to take action. But I said, before you take action, you have to just wait.
Mm.
Because what you're waiting for, after you've dreamed it, after you've felt the emotions of what it's going to be like to have it come into existence, you have to just wait for the opportunity.
Mm.
And this is what I'm trying to get to. The opportunity didn't exist until 2 days before I flew down there. And then after you just wait and be open to the opportunity appearing, then you leave. So just wait. I got to add, and then you leave, because there's a courage that follows just waiting, because we can't just wait forever.
Right.
Well, I guess we
No.
can. But I think the message was for me, because it was, to me, it was really divinely inspired,
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie, that God opened this up for me. Just wait. I'm
Mm-hmm.
bringing you this opportunity. Surrender
Mm-hmm.
to me so that I can show it to you. So you're available to see it. And then you leave.
I love that.
Yeah? Oh, I'm so glad
Yeah.
you like it, because it made all the sense in the world to me. Like, oh, at least in this case, that's what it means.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wait until it's right for you, makes sense for you, and then follow your intuition, because I'm behind that intuition, and leap.
Love that. Love that. Well, Bruce, before we close, I definitely want to make sure we get to talk about your book and what was birthed out of your season of going through all of that. How do we contact you? How do we find out about it? What's happening? All the details.
Well, the book is called Fragments to Freedom. Thanks for asking about it, by
Yes.
the way. It was published last month. I The biggest thing about it, Stephanie, was in the writing of it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're an author, or if you have authors that are listening to this, it's going to resonate with them, because as the book is totally different than the the original manuscript that I wrote.
Oh.
And when I go back and look at it, I really think it was divinely inspired. I
Mm-hmm.
really do, because I know I wrote it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I did. I
Mm-hmm.
wrote it.
Yeah.
But it's it follows. The premise is this: if you had the opportunity to become a blank slate, meaning you don't remember your past,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know your name, and you don't carry any of the baggage, both the good and the bad, would you take it? And so it follows this gentleman who wakes up in a field below a mountain, that wakes up as a blank slate. And through his journey and the choices that he makes, he is he is encouraged to ask himself that question.
Mm-hmm.
Do I continue where I am from here, or do I spend time looking at my past and going
Mm-hmm.
back? And it doesn't offer a conclusion, but it offers a message that the reader is going to have to look for. It's a little Easter egg in there. But I think it is the purpose of the book. But it also offers these 8 reflection questions that encourage book clubs or church groups or leadership teams to ask these reflection questions about what is the value of your past. And what is the value of being a blank slate and starting fresh and starting free? One of the questions in a Stephanie is, if you woke up tomorrow as a blank slate, what are two things that you would most miss from the history of your life? And so it just encourages people to have to stop, to slow down, and to reflect on the life that they've got and how they want to live the next portion of their lives. It's available on Amazon. I'm excited to say it's globally.
Yay! Congratulations.
Nice. Yeah. At least I know about some sales that I've had in Canada as well. So it's, and it's also at Barnes and Noble. And, yeah, I'd love for your listeners to pick it up. It's a short book. I think it's only about 48 pages, but, yeah, it was a joy to write because I ended up having to do the process myself.
Yeah.
New Year's,
Mm,
that is a beginning.
yes.
Birthdays, that's a new beginning.
Right.
Um, in religion, it's that idea of becoming born again.
Mm, mm.
Uh, all of these are blank slate moments that I think we pass through without taking the time to actually recognize the opportunity that they're providing us. So, yeah, it was a fun journey for me to write.
Awesome. I am asking, and I will be glad to share all of that information with our listeners. And I can't wait to get my own copy. I'm gonna have to mail it to you so I can get it autographed.
It would be my honor.
All right. All right. Awesome. I usually end each episode with a prayer. I'm sorry, not a prayer, a scripture on whatever the topic is of that podcast episode. Do you have a scripture that you clung to during your season of going through all of your hard times? Or do you have one that is just your favorite that just really motivates and encourages and gets you back to a spiritual space when you start to wander off course?
Um, there is one that I go to, and I might butcher it, so
I
my
don't expect you to
apologies.
remember it.
But it is this one where those that wait upon the Lord will renew their strength.
Mm,
They'll mount up with wings like eagles.
mhm.
They'll walk and not be weary. They shall run
And
and
not
not faint.
faint. Yes.
It's that
Yeah.
it's that one. And I think it applies to my story about surrender
Hmm.
because you won't fail. You're not failing. You're actually doing just the opposite. And that's why that scripture applies to me. It is so appropriate
Right. Right.
from me and my story.
I say that all the time in almost all the episodes. Some way I end up saying, "You're not failing." We're not here to fail. We're here to, well, we have failure, but we need to rely on turn it back over to the Lord and rely on Him to help surrender it to Him to help us get beyond that. And there's growth in that, and there's opportunity to become better and closer to Him. So I think we have to stop
Yeah.
being afraid of failure. Just realize it for what it is. It's not the end of the story. It's a new part. It's a new chapter.
Well, you said earlier in the conversation, you used the word learning, and it is truly that failure has a bad connotation.
Mm,
And yet, anybody that you want to look at and call them successful, and you ask them, how did you become successful? They will tell you that it was their mistakes, it was their
mhm.
failures. It's not the success, that's the byproduct. That's what we see at the end of the road. That's the outcome,
I'm glad you
but you
said
only
that.
get there through the falling down.
Mhm,
I've got a buddy now, he's 86 and he's a billionaire now. And I want him he's a big owner of, a construction company and Taco Bell's, and I will say to him, "Robert, what I want you to do is I want you to get on stage and I want you to tell people about your failures. And he said, what? Why? And I said, because every story, and he's a storyteller, Stephanie, and every story that he tells, it's about a failure.
Mhm.
Oh, well, I shouldn't have done that. And boy, that was a big mistake. But every time he says, I just learned it's not the failure. It's just, I don't want to do it again. Okay. I learned don't do that. And so he says, the failure didn't hurt me. It helped me. It just was a thing along the journey. And, and for the reason I bring that up is the comment that you just made. We have to stop being afraid of failure. It's we get closed. We put ourselves in this box of, oh, if I fail, people are going to laugh at me, or I'm going to be embarrassed, or, I'm
All the
going to
things
lose
we tell
money,
ourselves, yeah.
or all the voices in our heads,
Mhm.
right? And here's this guy that from any measurement stick that I think you would want to put, whether that's abundance or in money or in family or in status and in giving back to the community, is a success.
Mhm.
And he will tell you, I, it's because I failed, but it didn't allow it to defeat me. It wasn't failure. Wasn't defeat. Failure was just learning.
Right, right. Awesome, awesome. I am so glad we had this chance to talk today, and thank you so much for agreeing to come on the podcast. Are there any final words or thoughts that you didn't express during the interview that you'd like to leave our guest with, or any uplifting messages? Or
I don't know. I feel like I talked a lot.
you said a great deal, but I wanted to just give you the opportunity in case there was something else tinking around up there that you didn't get a chance to get out yet.
Well, maybe this. The message that I'm getting a lot
Mhm.
lately
Mhm.
is abide in me and I abide in
Oh.
you. That's this whole thing about, and when I say it, I mean this literally. When I say it, what I get is this vision of the wave and the drop in front of the wave,
Mm.
and I'll try and explain it to you. It's, and I know you're going to know what I mean. It's this, stop thinking that you are this drop that's preceding the wave. You're the wave, and the wave is the ocean. You're not out here trying to do something as a drop. You abide in me,
Mhm.
and I am the wave, and I am the ocean, and so are you.
And you become a part of me, not an individual drop
Ex-
outside of me.
exactly. And I become a part of you.
Yes.
So again, maybe it's going back to that idea of fear. You don't have to be afraid because I got this. We've got
Right.
this.
Right.
I'm going to speak through you. I'm going to act through you if you will just surrender and allow me.
Mhm.
Because in my belief, Stephanie, one of the big gifts that he gave us was choice.
Mhm.
If you don't let me in, okay, that's your
That's
choice.
your
I'm not
choice.
coming in.
I'll just stay right here till you're ready.
I'll stay right here because that was the big deal in this game that we're doing.
Mhm.
I'm going to give you a choice. You can go this path or you can go this path or wherever you want to go. I'm going to, because I respect you and I love you for that. And I'm going to let you do that.
Right.
But if you'll just trust me enough to surrender and keep showing up and keep trusting me and keep surrendering, then that's how we move mountains
Mhm.
because that's what I do.
Mhm. Right. Right.
And you're part of that. You're not separate from that. You don't have to do it by yourself.
Right.
You can if you want. You go out and do your thing. You can do it all. You can try it all on your own.
But that's why you're asking me now, because you tried it on your own. Oh, and I love that you
Get there
pointed.
before I did,
Right,
and
right,
that's what I would say to your listeners.
right.
Surrender before the big wave hits you,
Mm,
before you have to go through the travesty and the sobbing and the message. I mean, I guess we all are, we're all going to be fine,
mhm.
but, you know, practice your faith, practice your trust in the good times so
Right,
that
right,
it's there in the hard times.
right.
Just get there faster than I did. That's all I would say.
I love that, a little side note to that was the point that you have to keep doing it. It's not something you do one time and, "Oh, now I'm
Yeah,
perfect and I'm ready to be elevated." No, you have to keep doing it. Keep doing the
it is
things that
not a
keep you
one and
close.
done.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, and it is practicing it in the good times.
Mhm, mhm.
It is that gratitude. It is that surrender. And when life is good, you know, don't depend on him just when it gets icky. That's when you're growing that muscle, that faith
That's
muscle in
right.
the good times so that it's there in the bad times so that you got something to stand on. So you've got something to go to that you understand how it works. Um,
Right.
you know.
See, I knew you had another nugget in there. But, well,
I
Bruce, it
love
has
talking
been
to you.
such a joy, and again, I thank you so much for being a guest on Glory and Grit, and I'm sure our audience is going to love it as well.
Well, thank you very much. It
Well,
was my pleasure.
thank you.
My honor.
Wasn't that a powerful conversation? I keep coming back to the moment Bruce described where he was sitting, in that roadside park just sobbing. Ugh, and nothing externally was fixed yet, but yet he was finally able to breathe. It's because sometimes the first miracle isn't that everything around us changes. Sometimes the first miracle is that we can breathe again. Just breathe again. Sometimes it's the hope returning to us before we even get any answers. And sometimes it's the courage to make the phone call, ask for help, forgive. We've talked about that one. Keep showing up, or just simply to say, Lord, I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm going to trust you with it. Bruce's favorite scripture and one that he felt that really matched his season was Isaiah 40, verse 31. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. That's a good one, right? Maybe surrender today looks like loosening your grip and trusting God with what you can't fix. And maybe, as Bruce reminded us, it means learning to just wait. Not because God is absent, but because he's still working. Mm? I'm Stephanie. Thank you for listening to Glory and Grit. If this episode encouraged you, share it with someone who may need the reminder that they don't have to carry everything alone. You can find the show notes, a picture and details about our guest, as well as links, and the reflection guide for this episode at gloryandgritpodcast.com. Until next time, my friend, keep looking for God's glory in the middle of real life, because glory doesn't come without grit. Until next week, bye now.